All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are tackling something that completely flips decades of dietary advice on its head. We're going to dig into the work of Dr. Elizabeth Bright and explore why cholesterol, yeah, the very thing we've all been taught to fear, might actually be the single most important nutrient for your hormonal health. And boom, there it is. That's the core idea. And it's a total bombshell, right? For years, all we've heard is cholesterol equals bad, cholesterol equals heart disease. But Dr. Bright says no, hold on. It's the absolute, non-negotiable raw material for our body's most essential hormones. Without it, the whole system just grinds to a halt. So that's the big question we have to ask. If this stuff is so fundamental to how we work, how in the world did it become public enemy number one? To figure that out, we've got to take a closer look at what's really going on inside our bodies. This brings us to what I'm calling the cholesterol paradox. It's this crazy conflict between what our biology is screaming for and what the dietary guidelines have been telling us for generations. Now, the key word you need to know here is cascade. Think of it like a waterfall, or even better, an assembly line. It's not just one thing happening, it's a whole sequence of events that powers everything from how we handle stress to our reproductive health. And guess who's at the very beginning of that assembly line? You got it, cholesterol. And this shows that production line perfectly. Just look all the way to the left. It starts with cholesterol. That's the raw material. From there, your body turns it into something called pregnenolone, which is kind of like the mother of all hormones. And then from there, it just cascades down the line, becoming progesterone, our stress hormone cortisol, and all the way over to testosterone and estrogen. So the takeaway here is simple. If you don't have enough of that starting material, the entire factory is basically starved for parts. Okay, so where is this amazing hormone factory located? You know, most of us would probably guess the ovaries for women or the testes for men, but the real command center for hormone production, it's actually somewhere else entirely. Get this, a whopping 85 to 95% of all our steroid hormones are made in the adrenal glands. This was a massive discovery back in the late 1980s. It totally changed our understanding when we realized these tiny little glands sitting right on top of our kidneys were the true powerhouses of hormone production for both men and women. And it's the body's brilliant backup plan. As women get closer to menopause and the ovaries naturally slow down, the adrenals are designed to just ramp up and pick up the slack. This means that a smooth, easy transition should be the biological norm, not this awful thing so many women experience. Now, a statement like this from Dr. Bright is meant to be provocative, and here's why. She's arguing that things like hot flashes, mood swings, all that fatigue, it's not a disease of getting older, it's not a sign of ovarian failure, it's a sign of exhausted adrenal glands, a factory that's basically been run into the ground long before it was supposed to retire. So that leads us to what Dr. Bright says is the real story behind menopause. And the question is, why is the factory failing in the first place? Well, it really boils down to three main culprits. First, you've got a lack of raw materials, right? These low-fat, low-cholesterol diets are literally starving the factory. Second, there's chronic stress. This keeps your cortisol production in overdrive, and what it does is it steals the building blocks that should be going to your other hormones. And third, there's inflammation, which is so often driven by eating a lot of carbs, it just puts a constant grinding strain on the whole system. Which brings us right back to that big question. If the biology is so clear, where on earth did all this fear come from? Turns out, it wasn't just some simple scientific mistake. It was a story that was carefully built, piece by piece. To really get what's going on with our modern diet, we have to go back in time. We have to look at a history that's rooted not just in science, but in morality, marketing, and, of course, a whole lot of money. This timeline is just wild, because the fear of fat didn't start in a science lab. It actually started way back in the Victorian era with religious movements saying that eating meat was carnal and sinful. Then that moral panic got a shiny coat of science in the 1950s with Ansel Keys' deeply flawed 7-country study. And at the exact same time, you had industrial products like Crisco, which started out as a machine lubricant, by the way, being marketed to housewives as a heart-healthy choice. And by the 1980s, this whole mess of morality and marketing became official government policy. So let's follow the money. Who cashed in on this? Well, the processed food industry got to sell us tons of cheap grain-based products like cereals and pasta. The vegetable oil industry got to replace all the traditional animal fats. And then when our bodies inevitably started failing to make their own hormones because we weren't eating the right stuff, guess who was weeding? The pharmaceutical industry, ready to sell us hormone replacement therapies and cholesterol-lowering statins. It was just a perfect storm for profit. Okay, so now that we've seen the problem and we know the history, let's talk about the solution. How do you actually start eating to fuel your hormone factory instead of starving it? The approach here is just beautiful in its simplicity. It's not about adding more pills, more supplements, more drugs. It's about getting out of your body's way. Step 1, remove the inflammatory foods and stressors that are breaking the system. Step 2, give it the high-quality building blocks it's been begging for so it can finally repair itself. I mean, just look at the difference here. It couldn't be more night and day. Conventional advice says, avoid fat, avoid cholesterol, and when things go wrong, just manage your symptoms with drugs. Dr. Bright's approach is the complete opposite. Embrace animal fat and cholesterol, nourish your adrenals, and remove the inflammatory carbs that are causing the problem to begin with. And here's what that looks like in practice. It's a high-fat, moderate protein, and pretty much zero carbohydrate protocol. It's designed to do two very specific things. 1, give your body an absolute ton of raw materials for making hormones, and 2, just crush inflammation by getting rid of all the sugars and starches. And the benefits are so targeted. First, you're finally giving the factory the raw materials it needs, the cholesterol and the animal fat, to get back online. You're getting incredible nutrient density, but maybe most important, you get metabolic stability. You get off that blood sugar and stress hormone roller coaster that just wears the whole system down over time. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that true hormonal health might not come from a prescription pad. It might actually come from your dinner plate. It's all about trusting the incredible wisdom your body already has and just giving it the right fuel to do the job it was always designed to do. And that really leaves us with one last massive question. If we've been this wrong for this long about something as basic as fat and cholesterol, what other parts of modern nutrition might be built on a total foundation of sand? It's definitely something to think about.